Is it working? There we go. It's a little different doing this with OBS. Especially because now I just created a loop. I got to mute the audio on this here. Then I got to pop out the chat so I can read your chat. So let me get that going. All right. Sweet. There we go. Now, I don't know. People seem divided, and maybe I should run a poll. Do we put the chat on the screen or not? Some people like it. Some people say, no, don't do that. I don't know the answer. So have no idea what's the right answer for that. So I'll let everyone start in here and we catch up on that. Early, 7 a.m. Yeah, it's 7:48 a.m. here. So almost 8 a.m. Bright and early. I have some stuff to do today. Therefore, I probably am pandering to the European crowd because, you know, it's, I don't know what time it is. Maybe like a few, how many hours ahead is Europe? I guess it depends where you're at in Europe. But obviously really early if you're on the West Coast, and good morning if you're in my time zone, Eastern time. 5 a.m. 5 a.m. on the West Coast. So interesting. Real quick to get some things out of the way. This video got a sponsor. This video is sponsored by Meter, the company building full stack networks from the ground up. Meter delivers wired, wireless, cellular networking, all in one integrated solution, covering everything from hardware and software to deployment and support. We thank Meter for sponsoring Vlog Thursday. Check them out at meter.com/lawrencesystems. Actually, I don't have the graphic ready. I probably should have done that too, but it's in some of the other videos I've done. It's not hard to find Meter. If you do check them out, tell them Lawrence Systems says hi. So they've been a sponsor. They sponsored a couple of videos. I try to limit just how many sponsors I have. It's finding the happy balance of keeping the lights on, being able to buy fancy cameras and everything else. But there are topics, and those topics today are firewalls, and I believe TrueNAS was the other one. So it's still in release candidate, but I've been pretty happy. And me and Jeff talked about this as well. The new TrueNAS stuff. And, should I put actually, I should take a poll about putting the chat overlay on. I think there's a poll option here, isn't there? Where is that button? Showcase. Engage with your audience. What does that do? Start a poll. So cool. I can do this. Chat on screen. Start poll. I have no idea how this works. We're learning. You're learning with me of how I can do this. So people say yes. No. Yes. Wow. We're going, this is fun. Are the yeses going to win? I should, how can I share? I think I can do this. Hold on. Let me turn my second camera on because I can move to the second camera so you can see what I see. I think if I press this button, then move me here, then move me here. There we go. Now we're all on the same screen. You can see what the poll looks like. Are the yeses winning? I can make myself bigger. Hold on. Clicking the wrong thing. I talked about this last time. I'm starting to use OBS because StreamYard is, well, not as high quality as this for one, but second, StreamYard is a lot more expensive now than it was. I switched to a more basic plan because it's going to be more affordable now. I just don't use StreamYard enough to justify paying like $360 a month for it. So you lose some features by going down to their $40 to $5 a month plan, but yeah. Yeah, the polls are kind of cool. It's a new thing. I don't know how recently it got here, Cody, but it's pretty cool. I'm going to say I like it. So here's a question. Can I edit this? If I go to edit and put the chat overlay on, let me do the properties. Okay. Hey, chat overlay. So there you go. This is the chat overlay now. as you guys get to see it. So pretty cool. So I guess, do we click on end poll? We'll end it and it's at 62%. 39 of you voted. That's awesome. So the chat is now on the screen over here. It works. Let's move back over to the other screen. All right. I'm getting the hang of this. I'm like one of those streamers. I got a stream deck. I'm pressing buttons. Things are happening. It's kind of cool. It's better experience when you are watching the live after it ended. The biggest thing I liked about StreamYard, and there's a couple different ways to do this. You need to sign into your account and it'll make it easy, but I don't like trusting OBS with my keys to the account. So I don't allow that. That's why I don't have the cool fancy, like, I'm just going to drag things on there. I worry about that. Q Linus Tech Tips getting hacked, I think twice, and other YouTubers as well for having lost access to their account because of that. So I'm always really picky about that. Do you see products like the NVIDIA Spark X and Halo being leveraged for things like home automation and UniFi AI Key? Well, UniFi AI Key is its own thing. And I much as I'm an open source advocate, and you can call me out on this, and I do like a lot of UniFi things, I do obviously not love the fact that UniFi is essentially a closed ecosystem. I really wish they were more open source. And I'm bringing that up because the cool new AI systems that are out there are amazing. I love them. But there's not a way, I mean, there are ways to interface with it. You can export the data out of UniFi to do its processing. So I would say, yes, that the DGAX, Spark, AMD Strix, all these different AI systems are definitely going to be changing a lot of how we do things or enable us to do a lot of things. I didn't watch it yet, but I see Wendell dropped a video on it. I think locally hosted AI is the best thing to come out of this entire AI partial disaster. It's one of those things. You look at the mess that AI is to some extent, and you ask the question, like, what comes out of this that's good? Is it just in the hands of the hyperscalers and companies that are trying to turn us all into a subscription? Well, the nice thing is I'm seeing more and more locally hosted AI stuff that puts the power in our hands. And to me, that's good. I don't want to be turned into a subscription. That is definitely Silicon Valley's idea, is to turn everyone into a subscription one way or another to extract us. So I really think there's a lot of good that will come out of it. There's already a lot of great tools you can do. I know the project is rough to use as in complete NVR, but Frigate is getting there. It's not as polished as you're going to get from these commercial companies, but tools like Frigate, and there's other options out there to do object recognition on video, which then can be built into and leverage AI automation. So yeah, I think the progress is going to be good on it. Is it a game changer? Maybe. Everything changes the game a little bit further. The fact that it's becoming more and more affordable for us to self-host it, I think, is the biggest positive benefit out of all of it. So, and thank you very much for the donation. Upgrading to SFP Plus on a budget. Well, the good news is 10 gig SFP Plus is rather affordable. So, being on a budget, SFP Plus is one of those ones you can definitely, I would say, is budget friendly. So now I got to move my head, make it smaller. I found, so I did this, I said this, and it's still accurate, except under data protection. One of the things I was noticing was when there was a failure, and we were playing with a lot of stuff, me and my friend Mike, and we were working on, and I'm still working on that video for Railstream. And trust me, it's going to be a lot easier to do because UniFi just did a case study on Railstream. So there's a whole lot. I'll get to that in a moment. But we work on it at odd hours, or Mike does really, and therefore the system was rebooting. And that is where I'm replicating some of my data is offsite there. Well, I was realizing there was breaks in a replication task, and I know how to fix them because this is a common support call of, hey, we have a lot of data at site A and site B, and they're not replicating anymore. I just get errors. And it's because they weren't doing the resume very well for replication tasks. And what people would start doing is go into a replication task, and there's an option in here. I move my head again to the other side. There's an option to rebuild the task. Obviously, replicate from scratch is terrible because it means you're going to send all the data again. Well, it's just because the resume wasn't working properly. Well, I found that they fixed that in 2510, except when it fails on the source system and doesn't end the job on the destination system. So the destination system sets up a listener, and this sets up a transmitter essentially on source. So we're transmitting data. You lose the connection for whatever reason. You can kill that job, or the job times out on the source system. But if you start the job again before the job times out on the destination system, that's where the problem is. So figuring out those timeout timings of how long should you wait, how long should that job wait, is kind of the last final step in the bug fix. Before it wasn't working. In 2510 it works, but there's some bugs in that. But this is why I always tell people, test these things. If you're having problems, people complain about things all the time, but they're not really taking the time to file the bug report on it. And that's really what gets this done is, figure out those scenarios, put the effort in of testing it to try to figure out what is the incident, what is the repeatable steps. It no work is terrible for developers because you're not giving enough context. So I went and tested this in different ways, looked at the jobs behind the scenes. And this is one of those things that I'm always curious, like how could I teach people, or do I just walk them through what I did and that will offer the insights for the troubleshooting steps? To me, troubleshooting is kind of natural. I notice because I spend a lot of time in forums, and I'm never harsh on the new people in forums, but many of the new people in forums and some people who tell me they've been a technician for a long time, I don't even see the most basic. Almost the first question I ask very frequently in my forums is, where's the logs? Did you look at the logs? Well, what logs? What logs should I look at? I'm like, well, you're telling me this doesn't connect to that. Did you look to see if there's logs of the connection happening? Well, how would I do that? I'm like, okay, let's walk you through that. And I walk people through some of those steps, but that is, I don't know. I try to think about that going, I see it failing. So I just start looking at the logs. You look at the job ID. You go, that's weird. It can't connect because this job's in session. That's a error message that will help because we know it's not a resume problem. It says there's already a session open, even though we thought we closed it because it didn't time out. I don't know. I think a lot about that of how do I not just tell you how to fix a thing, but walk you through the trouble steps so you can fix more things. That's generally, to me, a better goal is to teach you how to troubleshoot, not how to troubleshoot a specific thing. And it does lead me a bit to I don't know if I can find it, and I don't know how. Let me see if I can find it in my forums. So, it was someone had a problem with UniFi. Well, they thought they had a problem with UniFi. This one. So this person makes a video, and UniFi zone-based firewall fail. Let's just say it's a little clickbaity here. Fixed now. It was never a fail. The fail was the person, and I replied to them. They don't understand how the firewall rules work. And it's not a UniFi thing. This is, once again, back to troubleshooting and why I brought this up as a topic. The problem they have, let me see if someone can spot the problem before I scroll down to, or maybe you read what I posted there. Oh, right here. Here's the exact where the problem is. Source zone, source port. So who in the comments here, if I were to say, I want to be able to, and it's going to go through a firewall, and I set the source to 443 and the destination to 443, would that work in a firewall rule? I'm only going to allow things to land on the server at 443, but it also, from the source, has to come from the source port of 443. That is where people get confused on how firewalls work. And maybe I should break that down in a more complete video. But for those of you that don't know, I see someone posting this. And if we scroll down here, well, it's easier to read in my forums because the text will be easier to zoom in. It's not a bug. He has a source port 443 from the DMZ to internal. Source port should always leave as any because client OS uses ephemeral random ports when initiating outbound connections. He does not do that when he makes the second rule from the command line, which is why it works. So this was part of it was he said it was UniFi fail because it wouldn't work, but if he makes a rule from the command line, the difference is in the command line rule, he did not set a source port. He only set the port for the allow rule to go through the firewall. And this is one of those things that a shocking number of people don't get. And, here's the problem. No offense to the person. I'm not here to call them out, but I mean, they make a video and someone shared the video with me. UniFi failed, fix now. And he's got opinions of how poorly it's designed. Policies in the same zone don't work because networks in the same won't already have access. Well, that's an obvious one. Policies cross zones are often ignored due to IP table chains that get evaluated, drop traffic. See, he's confidently stated all these things incorrectly. I don't know why he still has the video up. These are all things that because of his misunderstanding. And I think this is sometimes where's the problem. There's people out there who take the time to make videos and they are confidently wrong about something. And then, I'm not saying I have to. I am the savior. I'm sorry. I don't mean to say that at all. But I did take the time to understand where the problem was. Just politely point out, that same message I typed here is what I typed there. But it also goes to the challenge that you have as you, the consumers here of a lot of YouTube videos, I'm assuming because you're watching mine, that who's right is challenging. Of this person seems legit, put together a video, which, put some effort into in terms of putting all this content together. And it makes it really hard when I get a lot of people telling me something doesn't work that way. It's why I try to bring on, not just me, I bring on experts like Alan Jude to have a more in-depth discussion about why something works the way it does to help everyone understand it. But yeah. I can't argue with that statement that confidently wrong is such an American position to take. I know. If you want to troll Americans, which is easy, obviously, in some contexts, just ask questions like, hey, I've always had fun with this one. What percentage of the world population lives in America? And the majority of Americans cannot answer that question unless they've got a Google search ready. So I think it's I don't know the whole term of it. I'm not going to get into the whole debate about it, but it's funny. Oh yeah, this is actually where I was going next. So you are being very predictive here. The confidently well detailed, and hold on, how long is that video that person posted? So this person has a 20-minute video that's wrong that they've still chose not to take down. Well, I mean, if anyone reads the comments, here you go. The comments call the person out for being wrong, but AI is sucking up all these wrong videos. So that's a problem. And it's just been crazy to watch AI confidently be wrong, trained on confidently wrong people who sometimes are the loudest in the forums. They write detailed, insert that meme of this really, that was that one from, I can't remember what the meme is from, but, pointing at everything and the mess on the wall, trying to explain their complicated reason why they're wrong. And I'm like, no, it just doesn't work that way. It drives me a little bit bug nutty, but actually a lot of people are dooming and glooming about the AI apocalypse. And I am seeing enough confidently wrong AI systems that I think there's going to be like not just the message, but the messenger. So it's going to be really hard for people starting out to build a voice on a platform that you want to trust. Trust is hard earned and quick burnt. But there's an opportunity for creators who have built a trusting audience going, well, I could watch some AI video that poorly explains this and is probably wrong, or I can watch Wendell from Level 1 Techs. I can watch insert name of someone you follow and trust. And I believe we're going to start seeing people looking for the more human connection, the person who's not just AI generated or some AI slop video that poorly explains things. And Kyle Hill talked about this. He's a YouTuber that covers a lot of nuclear science. And he talked about how this has been going on for a couple of years in the science world because people are willing to just put on background noise science videos and it's just AI slop confidently wrong about things. And I think this is where an opportunity comes to start trusting people more because we can't trust the slop coming out of many of these giant tech companies trying to tell us AI everything, which is confidently wrong. So that's my long-winded rant on firewall rules and things like that. But oddly, you can get a lot of good information out of AI on firewall rules. It seems to have a lot of that right. When I query sometimes for better ways to explain things, I will use AI. I know the answer first. I don't know the best terminology to put something in sometimes. So AI is my favorite thesaurus. Like my best use for AI is a good word machine. It helps me wordsmith things. I know what I want to say. I sometimes say things and it's for clarity. I don't want to be as verbose. And by the way, time to plug the store. Tac verbose. You can get this in the Lawrence Systems swag store. So it seems like an appropriate shirt to wear for the vlog. But actually I could just, we'll go back to camera A here. Whenever I go to camera A, I like to turn the microphone so it's not off access. So, AI slot videos are good for memes. I have found AI to not be that great at memes though. Like it's good for like making fun of them and things like that. But I make a lot of memes and post them on LinkedIn. AI does not do a great job of coming up with meme ideas. I try once in a while. It is terrible at them. Do you have any plans on making a video about setting up ExoSAN? Maybe eventually. It's not a high priority for me. One of the problems with Hyperconverged, this is a Hyperconverged problem, not a Proxmox problem, not an XCP-NG problem, not a VMware. I forget the VMware Hyperconverged. Is it vSphere? What's the Hyperconverged thing in VMware called? Whatever it's called. Some of the challenges you have with Hyperconverged is performance. You have to have, if you want, real-time synchronization of files. And they're using it with, so I want to use on the back end of ExoSAN, it's Linbit. So they're using Linbit. Linbit instead of Ceph. Ceph is what Proxmox uses for Hyperconverged. They all have some challenges. Those challenges are, I have system A and system B and system C. So we got 3 systems here. I write to system A, but I want my hyperconverged file system to sync to systems B and C. Great. They can't sync as fast because the bottleneck, if you have really performant drives in these systems, it has to squeeze down to networking. So you then have to up the networking. Next bottleneck. Oh, takes CPU time. We've wrote to system A, B and C need a copy of it. They need to process it. That takes away CPU power. So hyperconverged is cool, but it has a compounding effect with writes and reads. Well, reads are easier, but writes are where the issue can be. Ceph has the same problem. And there's a reason 45 Drives does so many videos bragging about when they achieve a number in Ceph of IOPS that seems high, but when you look at the performance you can get out of single systems, you're like, oh, I guess it's not. I mean, it's high, great because it's high with resiliency, but that compounding effect is one of the problems. It's one of the reasons that when you're setting up Proxmox and you're using the Ceph, and this is true for Ceph, this is not a Proxmox thing specifically, but it is a Ceph thing, they call it public-private networks. Public network means where Ceph serves up the data to whatever's using it, and the private side network needs to be substantially bigger and faster and low latency in order to get Ceph to perform well because of the compounding rate problem. And in Ceph specifically, and I believe this is going to be somewhat true for Linbit, there may be a way to turn it off, but I know it's going to be on by default, is synchronization. It will not release and let you know that this has been written, this is like the synchronization rights you may turn on in ZFS with NFS. You have a problem of, I have to get this synced between all these systems before I can write the next one, So you have a lot of performance issues on it. And I think that's why everyone's like, but hyperconverged, Tom. And I'm like, if you don't need performance, it's great. But once you start needing performance, it can be less great. It's not the reason I'm not doing a video on it. It's just just haven't gotten around to it. It's on my to-do list, just not on my done list. Actually, I've thought about just doing a video playing with Linbit. Linbit and the synchronization they use has been around for a long time. So maybe I'll do that as a precursor. So people, when I say ExoSAN uses Linbit, they'll know what I mean. Doctor of Pharmacy. I promise you we need to get rid of some of the BS in high school and replace it with teaching kids basics of scientific method. Yeah, scientific method works for computer science too, 100%. You know, it's definitely do that. Definitely do scientific method. It is a great tool here. Why are we doing this? I didn't know there was a 7 a.m. Biggest reason for doing this is because I got a lot of stuff to do today. So Tom's got things to do. So this is the only time I really had to do this. Because I can't predict things later. Therefore, I can't predict I will be in this chair at 7:45 is when I predicted I'd be in this chair. Turns out I was in this chair about 7:47 pressing the live button. So I only started 2 minutes late, which isn't bad. But I can't go too long because I do have a day of things that I got to go get done. Fun stuff. But the other thing I might do is how to use AI for troubleshooting. I think that's something that is underrated. People ask hey, I'm happy for the engagement I have in my forums, but some of the questions are, I'm not going to say a Google search away because Google search has gone to complete garbage, but certainly some 101s of how DNS works in the most basic form. AI gets that right. I've not seen AI get, it's like the really 101 stuff incorrect. So you can also, hey, this didn't work and things like that. So it's another way to help get to the bottom of things. You just got to be careful because AI obviously it's figuring out where that limit is. Is why I haven't done the video on it. Is I got to try to figure out the right context of you should ask how DNS works. But once you found out that the DNS is working and it's not where your problem is or something along those lines, then yeah, maybe you need to go beyond what AI can do. But AI, man, if you have a decent understanding of tech, you can get really far with AI to figure some things out. It does a good job on a lot of things. By the way, just drop the logs files in there. Copy and paste your logs. If you're having an OpenVPN problem, copy and paste your logs into AI. Wow, you're like, that's cool. It understood the context. It sorted, even if you didn't take the time to read the context of the logs, because sometimes it's a challenge when I say, can you share your logs? People give me all the logs. I don't want all the logs. There's an error message in there. Just give me the error message and I can grep and filter for it. But if, those are some of the basic troubleshooting things that AI can do. If you just drop a ton of logs to AI, it'll go, well, all these ones are labeled info. I can probably throw away. Let me look for the ones where the error message are. Yeah, there's more people talking about DNS in my forums just today. And it's someone who's posted a lot. I right away, I was like, here's my DNS troubleshooting guide for what you're asking for. Because they ask, hey, this doesn't work, but they post no logs, no information, which tells me they didn't try anything yet. Insert Simpsons meme. I've tried nothing and I'm all out of ideas. What do I think about using Tor as a VPN for web browsing? I think you're going to have a really slow experience. It works. You can use Tor. And Tor's a thing. Tor's not fast. So as a web browsing experience, it's a working solution if you're patient. Yeah, DNSSEC has really interested me since I watched the vid called 7 People Can Turn Off the Internet. Your per app IP video, how did you set 10.13.13 VLAN when your main subnet is at? Because my main subnet is 172.16.16. My per IP is I showed it in a video, in TrueNAS, I think. I got to figure out where. No, I don't have that one set up anymore. That was a lab system. I have that VLAN. And this is sometimes where I have challenged people like, well, how do you set up a VLAN on a network? And I'm like, Well, that's a prerequisite for doing the TrueNAS video. So, because I made a video about TrueNAS, not a video about networking, but touched on networking. You go in the system, you create a VLAN that's attached to the, if you have a VLAN, it can be a separate network. You could attach this to a separate network card. I just happen to have a network interface with 172.16.16 being VLAN native. I have another VLAN that is the 10.13.13 network. And so you create an interface, you create a VLAN in TrueNAS, which is not hard to do. I can pull up, let me pull this up at least. So where would that be? I believe it's my HL15. System, network. Yeah, this is a VLAN, so I can edit it and zoom in. So VLAN 20, much like the name implies, uses VLAN tag 20 for this VLAN. Oh, by the way, this has definitely caused me some pain. If you get the mouse over this, just for a moment, it will do this. It'll change the numbers up and down with the mouse wheel. It's kind of weird. It goes, when you go up, it does both. I don't know. That's a fun little problem. I wish they wouldn't do that. Or maybe it's Chrome doing it and they're not doing it. But either way, no, don't save. Yes. But if you want to add a VLAN, you just add VLAN, give it a name. I think that VLAN is actually 13.13. And then choose the parent interface, main, choose the VLAN tag, 13.13. And then you would have the 13.13 network on there. And then you can assign things to it. Hopefully that answers the question you were asking. I at least recommend you go to 25.04 is what I'd at least recommend. So you're about a year behind. Yes. Paste all your API keys in. Make sure everything's validated. Right. Yeah, it does create some good scripts. I have a standard starter report for troubleshooting. It tells it to provide short and concise replies and not jump ahead before knowing the previous step is confirmed. Yeah, that's the kind of stuff. Prompt engineering is the important part of it. I may do a video to help people understand DNS leaks. People are really concerned with them. I don't know. I guess there's times when they're valid, times when they're not. I don't know. I'll make that as a separate video topic. There, I'll close that. Reset this. Ooh, I need updates. I should update all these, right? Update. Actually, I should update my HL8. Or I could use the TrueNAS Connect, which people do not love. I don't love that it's cloud. I don't know. You notice I'm going to things locally. It's novel. I think it's a neat feature. But anytime something has a cloud component, I'm such a self-hosted person. I do like things self-hosted, but I also see for businesses and maybe people who have a handful of things, it might be an interesting way to group all your TrueNASs together. But nonetheless, I do have to wind this down because I got to get going to the things I got to get done today. What is this thing doing? Oh, upgrades. Upgrade time. So thanks everyone for joining. Actually, I should probably switch to the other camera. We'll do it over there. Oh, have I played with the Home Assistant voice activation? No. You know, I know a lot of people have done videos on this and they like it. The least interesting thing to me is talking to the computer directly. I don't know. I don't like it. So I just never use it. It interests me like none. I've never wanted to say, hey, computer, let's turn lights on or things like that. You know what does interest me? And I talked about this in my Home Assistant video. I got things like this. And things like this turn lights on and off and turn these things on and off. Like this stuff I like. These are these little pucks. If you watch my Home Assistant video, I list these out of how they work. I don't remember if this one's Zigbee or Z-Wave. I think this one's Z-Wave. That interests me. Being able to just touch something or presence detection. Like, hey, you know, I haven't set up any presence detections yet, but that I like that. I don't want to talk to my computer. I don't want to tell it to turn the lights on or off. I just don't. Maybe it's a weird quirk of me because some people really want to talk to the computer. As I sit here and fidget with my... This is a discussion that came up last night. I was on Jeff from Craft Computing's live stream. Jeff from Craft Computing's live stream. There we go. Full tongue twister here for early this morning. This is my Enterprise pizza cutter, which it'll never cut pizza. It's just something I have. But someone said button to Zigbee. See, I don't remember which ones they are. Like I set them up and I'm happy with the whole, you know, the action of it, but never, I don't think always about some of the hardware because that it's just like someone asks you what camera I'm using. I'm like, it's a Sony. The exact model number might escape me because I'm not a big camera nerd. I need to know enough to get it set up. And once it's set up, it's just an enablement for me to get the next thing done. Why I'm talking about the Enterprise before I got squirreled away. I know we see, and I'm a massive Star Trek fan, and I love that they could just talk to the computer and it seems probably better. And it's probably better because it also gives context. So here's the question. Did we start talking to computers because on TV, on Star Trek, asking the computer a question verbally, first, it seems very human. Second, it adds more context because if you didn't hear someone say something, how would they add that context? Do we show them pressing a button here and there and we watch a door open? We watch a thing change? How do we tell, you know, do we watch over someone's shoulder while data types in to analyze the anomaly? Or do we say, computer, please analyze this anomaly? I think how much of that is driven by sci-fi? There's the brain twist here. You know, sci-fi had a lot of these ideas long before they were really viable in the technology market like they are now. But were they driven by this desire for sci-fi? Is that the most efficient way to do things? I don't know. Isn't Microsoft adding a new talk feature? I have no idea what Microsoft's doing. Something. But nonetheless, accessibility was good reason for it. Yeah, I mean, I get it. Don't get me wrong. If you have, or anyone who has certain disabilities and you can't move, voice is amazing for them. I'm not saying it's not good technology. I'm just saying it's not technology I use. If I was focusing on building tools for people who could not move, then, you know, and voice was their only way of communication, then yeah, suddenly that makes a lot of sense. But that's, you know, it's just my thoughts on it. It's not my favorite thing. Yeah, most tech companies already have a listening feature. I'll leave you with that thought because you're not wrong. There's way too many listening features on some of these large corporate technology devices that we have. So what are you doing, Dave? Open a pod bay doors, hell. I have my recent Docker video to say what I like. So if you look at my channel, I don't have a lot of Docker videos, but it says how I run Docker or something like that. I posted it within the last month or two. That I have a list of all the things I run in there, so maybe they're interesting to you as well. But with that, I bid all of you farewell. Except I don't know how to bid you farewell. I got to figure out where that button is now. Where is that? Oh, this is fun. I had this problem last time of figuring out where the end button is. I think because I can't just press end because it won't end. I have to go somewhere. Is it here? Is it here? There we go. There's an end stream button I got to push in here. This is how you end the stream. So it's a matter of finding this. Yeah. So thank you all for watching. All about 150 of you. Fantastic. Awesome. Love seeing y'all here. And I'll be doing a live stream next week and posting some other videos in between. Thanks, everyone. Take care.